The casket is small. Too small. That's my first coherent thought as they lower my son into the ground. A stark, polished maple box that holds my entire world. My 8-year-old boy, Jacob. My hands won't stop trembling. I've tried pressing them against the rough wool of my black dress, gripping them together until my knuckles turned white, even shoving them deep into my pockets where no one can see them shake. Nothing works. The tears are a silent, constant river down my cheeks, and I've long since given up on wiping them away. My stomach is a hard, tight knot with each mechanical whir of the pulley system lowering him into the earth, and my knees feel like water, threatening to give way beneath the weight of grief so profound it has its own gravity. The cemetery worker gives me a kind, patient nod, waiting for some signal that I'm ready for this final moment. I will never be ready. 10 months ago, the doctors finally put a name to the monster that was stealing my son's light. A rare and aggressive pediatric leukemia. Jacob took the news with a courage that hollowed me out. His small face, pale, but set with a determination that belied his years. "Will the medicine make me sick?" he asked, his voice small but steady in the too bright exam room. "It might, buddy," the oncologist said. His honesty was a brutal kindness. "But we're going to fight this with everything we have." He never complained, not through the spinal taps that left him sobbing silently into his pillow, not through the chemotherapy that stole his beautiful, dark curls, not through the fevers that racked his tiny body and left him shaking beneath a mountain of blankets. Even on the worst days, he'd look up at me with eyes that were too old for his face and whisper, "It's okay, Mommy. I am tough." Now I stand utterly alone beside his grave, the aching physical void of their absence a second, more cruel funeral. My parents, who should be holding me up, my sister Amanda, who promised she'd always be there. Sarah, my best friend since the 3rd grade, who held my hand through my divorce and swore we were sisters in everything but blood. A reflexive, stupid muscle memory makes me pull my phone from my clutch. My thumb finds the Instagram icon before my brain can stop it. Amanda's feed loads, and there they are. A flood of photos from her engagement party at the exclusive Skyline Terrace. There she is, champagne flute held high, an obscenely large diamond glittering on her finger. There are my parents, beaming, their arms wrapped around her, looking for all the world like the proudest and happiest people alive. The timestamp on the most recent post shows it was uploaded 22 minutes ago. While I was listening to the minister struggle to find words worthy of a boy he'd never known. "Are you holding up, dear?" I look up, blinking through the tears. It's Helen, my 80-year-old neighbor from down the street. Her gnarled, weathered hand rests lightly on my arm, her eyes brimming with a compassion so genuine that it makes my chest ache. For 16 months, she brought over homemade lasagnas and chicken soups when I was too exhausted from hospital vigils to cook. She sat with Jacob, reading him Harry Potter in her crackly voice, when I desperately needed a shower or a 20-minute nap. She never once made us feel like a burden. "She didn't come," I whisper, the words tearing from a raw, shredded place deep inside me. Not one of them. I can't stop the memories from crashing over me. Jacob's laugh, the real, unfettered one before the sickness, a sound that used to bubble up from his toes and fill a room with pure, undiluted joy. How he decided at 6 that he was going to be a space doctor so he could fix kids in zero gravity. The way he'd insist on wearing his Iron Man helmet to every radiation treatment because Tony Stark isn't afraid of anything. "That beautiful boy loved you more than anything in this world," Helen says, her voice soft but firm. I nod, the memory surfacing through the fog of grief. My ex-husband, David, before his company moved him to Germany, he'd set up an $850,000 educational trust fund for Jacob. "If anything ever happens," he'd said, his voice gruff with an emotion he rarely showed, You are the sole beneficiary. I know you'll use it to honor his memory." He couldn't have known how soon his words would become a prophecy. My phone buzzes in my hand. A text message. My mother's name flashes on the screen. "Mom, we need to talk. Bring the trust documents tomorrow, 3 p.m. at our house." I stare at the words, reading them once, twice, a third time. The cold, clinical demand of it is a slap that steals the air from my lungs. They didn't come to his funeral, but they want to talk about his money less than 24 hours later. Something cold and sharp, something entirely separate from the grief, cuts through the haze for the first time. A sliver of pure, analytical clarity. I type back, my fingers feeling thick and clumsy. "I am burying my son today. I can't think about paperwork." Her response is immediate. "Don't be dramatic, Lauren. This is important for the whole family." The whole family. The words are a branding iron. The same family that couldn't spare a single hour to say goodbye to Jacob? The reality of what is happening begins to crystallize with terrifying speed. This isn't about concern. This is a coordinated grab for the last piece of my son I have left. His legacy. The future he was robbed of. I realize with a jolt that stings like ice water that I am alone in this. My parents, Amanda, even Sarah, they're united. They've been planning. And I am isolated, vulnerable, drowning in a grief they see as an inconvenience. "What is it?" Helen asked, her keen eyes watching my face change. I show her the phone. I watch as her kind, wrinkled face hardens into something fierce and protective as she reads my mother's words. "Oh, honey, they can't possibly be this cruel." I turn my phone off completely, the screen going black. Whatever they want, whatever they've been scheming, it can wait. This moment, this unbearable, sacred pain belongs to Jacob and me alone. I will not let them steal this from me too. Helen places a steadying hand on my shoulder. "You are not alone in this, dear. I am here." The cemetery worker approaches hesitantly. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry, but we need to finish." I look at Jacob's casket, suspended over the dark, open mouth of the earth. How am I supposed to turn my back? How am I supposed to walk away and leave him here in the cold and the dark? Helen steps forward, her slight frame suddenly imposing. "Give her a moment," she says, her voice brooking no argument. The worker nods respectfully and takes several steps back. I kneel, the damp grass soaking through the knees of my dress. I don't care. I reach into my pocket and pull out his most treasured possession, a small, worn plastic figurine of Neil Armstrong. He'd clutched it through every procedure, every nightmare, every moment of fear. I place it gently on top of the smooth, cold wood of his casket. "I will protect what's yours," I whispered to him, the vow leaving my lips as a sacred promise. "I swear it to you, Jacob. They will not touch it." As I stand, something fundamental shifts inside me. The paralyzing grief is still there, a vast, endless ocean, but now there is a spark in it, a single burning point of light, a resolute.
The morning after the funeral dawns gray and drizzly, matching the hollow ache in my chest as I drive toward my parents' colonial-style home in Crestwood Heights. My knuckles are white on the steering wheel, each rotation bringing me closer to a confrontation I never imagined possible. The rain streaks down my windshield like tears I can no longer cry. I park behind a familiar silver Lexus, Sarah's car. Of course she's here too. The betrayal stings fresh as I cut the engine. The front door swings open before I can knock. My father stands framed in the doorway, his face arranged in a mask of paternal concern that doesn't reach his eyes. "Lauren, come in," he said with that face. "We've been waiting." The living room feels like a tribunal. Amanda perches on the cream-colored sofa, legs crossed at the ankle, her blonde hair swept into a perfect chignon. Sarah sits beside her, suddenly fascinated by her manicure when I enter. My mother stands by the fireplace, one hand resting on a framed family photo where we're all smiling. A perfect facade for visitors. No one mentions Jacob. No one says they're sorry. My father doesn't waste time. He moves to the mahogany coffee table where a folder lies open, papers arranged in neat, accusing stacks. "We need to reassign the trust with Amanda as trustee," he announces, sliding a document toward me. "Sign here and here." I don't reach for the pen. "What are you talking about?" Amanda uncrosses her legs and leans forward, her voice dripping with false concern. "Lauren, be reasonable. You're in no condition to manage this kind of money right now. We're trying to help you." My mother steps closer, her voice honeyed with pretend sympathy. "You've always been impulsive with finances, darling. Remember that art gallery you wanted to open after college? Thank goodness your father talked you out of that disaster." I glance at Sarah, searching for some flicker of the friendship we once shared. She meets my eyes briefly before looking away, her silence screaming volumes. "We've already spoken with David's lawyer," my father says, tapping the papers. "Given your current mental state, he agrees this is the prudent course of action." The words hit like physical blows. I pick up one of the documents, recognizing legal language about mental competency evaluations. Another page catches my eye. Research on trust law dated 12 months ago when Jacob was first hospitalized. "You've been planning this since Jacob got sick," I whisper, the realization burning through me like acid. "While I was sitting beside his hospital bed, you were researching how to take his money if he died." Amanda sighs dramatically. "You're being paranoid again. That's exactly why we're concerned about your judgment." My father pulls out another document, sliding it across the table like a chess move. "If you refuse to sign voluntarily, we're prepared to petition for guardianship. The court will understand that grief has compromised your decision-making abilities." The full scope of their betrayal crystallizes in that moment. Their dismissals of Jacob's illness, their refusal to visit, their constant claims that I was overreacting, it was all positioning. They were waiting for this. I see a blueprint peeking out from underneath the trust documents. I pull it free. Renovation plans for Amanda's new house. A $300,000 kitchen expansion, a home theater, an infinity pool. "You never even visited him in the hospital?" I say, my voice steadying with the clarity of pure anger. Amanda tosses her hair, impatient. "We all process things differently, Lauren. Some of us are just better at handling difficult situations." The casual cruelty of her words steals my breath. For the first time, I see my family clearly, not as the loving support system I desperately believed in, but as people who viewed Jacob and I as accessories to their perfect image, useful when convenient, disposable when not. "Why now?" I ask. "What's the sudden urgency?" Amanda exchanges glances with my parents. That familiar, silent communication that always excluded me. "Fine," she says. "Mark's development company is having cash flow issues. The wedding venue requires a non-refundable deposit by next week, and with the market downturn." My mother fingers her pearl necklace nervously. "And there's the vacation property in Napa. The mortgage payments have become burdensome." "We're not being villains, Lauren," my father says, his tone shifting to the one he uses when closing business deals. "We're a family facing difficult circumstances. This trust can solve problems for everyone." Sarah finally speaks, her voice small. "My divorce settlement was less than expected. Amanda promised me a position at Mark's firm. I have children to think about too." I see them then, not monsters, but small, frightened people willing to sacrifice me to maintain their lifestyles, their status, their comfort. "If you don't sign, my father warns, his kindly mask slipping, we'll have to take more formal measures. My mother reaches for my hand. After everything we've done for you and Jacob all these years, I almost laugh. What had they done? Sent birthday cards with generous checks? Called on holidays to ask superficial questions about our lives? Performed family when it suited them? Don't make this harder than it needs to be, my father says, his voice hardening. You're not thinking clearly. Amanda checks her diamond-encrusted watch. We need this resolved within 48 hours. The venue won't hold our date without the deposit. The desperation in their eyes tells me everything. They need Jacob's money, my money, right now to solve their problems. I stand, gather the documents, and place them back in the folder. I need time to think, I say, heading for the door. Lauren, my father's voice carries the sharp edge I remember from childhood arguments. Don't walk away from this. I close the front door behind me with quiet finality. In my car, I press my forehead against the steering wheel. The shakes finally coming. Great heaving sobs that feel like they may tear me in two. My phone buzzes with a text from Helen. How did it go? I'm here if you need to talk. Before I can respond, another call comes through, David's parents. I answer with shaking hands. Lauren, honey, Martha's voice is warm with genuine concern. We just heard about the funeral. We're so sorry we couldn't be there. The flight from Berlin was delayed. We loved that boy so much, George adds, his voice breaking. We're on our way to you now. Their grief sounds real, their concern authentic, unlike the calculated performance I just witnessed from my own family. As I hang up, I remember something David mentioned when setting up Jacob's trust. If you ever need anything, call Thomas Walsh. He's the best trust attorney on the East Coast. For the first time today, I feel a flicker of hope. I'm not alone in this fight. Helen, who saw how I cared for Jacob every day, David's parents, who loved him without condition, Thomas Walsh, who knows exactly what David intended for our son's legacy. I start the car, my decision made. I won't try to fight this battle alone. I reach for my phone and find Thomas Walsh's number and my contacts. Mr. Walsh's office? An efficient voice answers. I need to speak with him immediately, I say, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. It's about the Jacob Hayes Trust, and it's an emergency. That same afternoon, the law office of Thomas Walsh feels like a sanctuary. It's all dark wood, leather-bound books, and a hushed, respectful silence. I clutched my folder of documents, my knuckles white. Thomas Walsh is older than I expected, with a kind, intelligent face and sharp eyes that miss nothing. He rises from behind his massive oak desk when I enter. Mrs. Hayes, please, have a seat. I was so sorry to hear about Jacob. Thank you, I manage, my voice catching. His empathy feels genuine, not peremptory.
I slide the folder across his desk. These are all the documents I have. My ex-husband, David, set it up before he moved to Germany. He opens the folder, scanning the contents with a practiced eye. He nods occasionally, pausing to read certain sections more carefully. The silence stretches. My family wants me to sign over control of the trust to my sister, I say, when I can't bear it anymore. They claim I'm not mentally stable enough to manage it because of my grief. The words taste like ash. They didn't even come to his funeral. Walsh looks up sharply. They didn't attend the funeral? No. My sister had her engagement party the same day. My parents and my best friend chose to go to that instead. He removes his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. I remember when David set up this trust, he was exceptionally clear about his intentions.
He opens a drawer and pulls out a file with David's name on it. My breath catches. I hadn't expected him to have his own records. David was remarkably thorough, Walsh explains, extracting a notarized letter. This is his statement of intent. He hands it to me. I read David's familiar handwriting through a fresh wave of tears. This trust is to secure Jacob's future, and if the worst should happen, to provide for Lauren, who has sacrificed everything for his care and well-being. She is to have sole and absolute discretion over these funds. There's more, Walsh says, turning his computer monitor toward me. It shows a log of incoming calls to his office. These are from the last 14 months. The spreadsheet shows multiple calls from numbers I know by heart. My parents' home number, Amanda's cell phone. They contacted you about Jacob's trust? My voice is sharp. Not me directly. They called asking general questions about trust provisions and beneficiary laws. My paralegal flagged it because she recognized the names from David's file. They never actually spoke to an attorney here. The clarity is so sharp, it's painful. They knew the terms before he died. That's why they've been planning this. It appears so, Walsh says, his expression grim. Mrs. Hayes, I need to be very clear. This trust has explicit, ironclad provisions preventing exactly this kind of family interference. David built in multiple layers of protection to ensure the funds would go to Jacob, or failing that, directly to you as the sole beneficiary. They have no legal standing whatsoever to challenge this. The weight on my chest lightens infinitesimally. So they can't take it. Not legally, no, but they might try other tactics, claiming you're mentally unfit due to grief, for instance. It's a common strategy. I think of the competency evaluation papers. So I don't need to fight them for the trust. I just need to prove their intentions. His eyes narrow thoughtfully. That would certainly strengthen your position immensely. Do you have any documentation of their attempts to gain control? I pull out my phone and show him the text exchange with my mother from the funeral. His eyebrows rise as he reads. This is extremely helpful. Now, I suggest we arrange a meeting with your family, on your terms, in a public place. 2 days later, I sit at a corner table in the Daily Grind, a busy coffee shop. A manila envelope sits on the table in front of me. My heart is a drum against my ribs, but my hands are steady. Helen is waiting in her car across the street. Thomas Walsh is on standby. My family arrive together, a united front. Amanda leads in oversized sunglasses. My parents follow. Melissa trails behind them, a reluctant shadow. They sit without ordering drinks. Amanda immediately reaches for the envelope. So you've signed the papers. I knew you'd see reason. I place my hand firmly on top of it. Before we discuss any papers, I want to know why none of you came to Jacob's funeral. My mother sighs dramatically. Lauren, we've been through this. Amanda's engagement was planned months ago. We couldn't just cancel. It was your grandson's funeral, I say, my voice low but clear. And we grieved in our own way, my father says, glancing at the other customers. Everyone processes loss differently. I open the envelope and slide out printed screenshots from Amanda's Instagram. Champagne glasses raised, everyone laughing, the timestamp visible during Jacob's funeral service. While I was burying my son, you were drinking champagne and laughing. Amanda's face flushes. You're taking those out of context. That's not fair. I pull out the second document, the notarized statement of intent from David, the key phrases highlighted. David made his intentions very clear. This money is Jacob's legacy. It belongs to me. He reaches for it. Let me see that. I pull it back. I've spoken with Thomas Walsh. He has David's original instructions. The trust cannot be modified or accessed by anyone but me. Amanda's composure cracks. You don't deserve that money. You'll just waste it on some pathetic grief project. Her voice carries. People turn to stare. Lower your voice. My mother hisses. Why? I ask, looking directly at Amanda. Are you worried people will hear how you tried to steal from your grieving sister? How you skipped your nephew's funeral but showed up demanding his college fund? Amanda stands up abruptly. This is ridiculous. We're trying to help you. I don't need your kind of help. I'm not signing anything. Ever. My father leans forward, his voice a low, threatening growl. You're making a mistake, Lauren. We can make things very difficult for you. You already have, I reply, standing. For my entire life, but not anymore. I walk out, feeling their stares burning into my back. Helen gives me a proud, fierce smile from her car. My phone rings immediately. It's Walsh. How did it go? I describe the confrontation as Helen drives us away. Good. You establish boundaries. They'll likely try something else now. They're getting desperate. As I hang up, a call comes from David's parents. They offer to fly back to testify about David's intentions. Then a text from an old colleague, Mark, who used to visit Jacob in the hospital. Helen told me, whatever you need, I'm here. For the first time, the weight feels lighter. I am not alone. The next morning, the sheriff's knock is a hollow boom that echoes through my house. He hands me a thick, legal-sized envelope. Lauren Hayes, you've been served. My fingers tremble as I take it. Emergency petition for guardianship. My stomach lurches. They weren't just coming for the money anymore. They were coming for me. I call Walsh, my voice hollow. They filed. I know. I just got the notification. How are you holding up? I spread the documents on my kitchen table. Affidavits from Melissa detail every moment of weakness during Jacob's illness. The nights I called her crying, the time I forgot to eat, my erratic behavior. They'd twisted my grief into evidence of insanity. Financial statements highlighted every overdraft fee from when I had no income while caring for Jacob, presenting it as financial irresponsibility. The hearing is tomorrow, Walsh says. We're ready. But I'm not sure I am. This was about my autonomy, my dignity. Have you seen the paper? Walsh asks quietly. I pull up the local news site. There's my parents, faces arranged in masks of sorrow. The headline, Family Seeks Help for Grieving Mother. My father's quote, This breaks our hearts, but we have to protect her from herself. On social media, Amanda has posted a childhood photo of us with the caption, Sometimes the hardest thing is stepping in when someone you love is suffering. Hashtag mental health awareness. Hashtag family first. The comments are a river of support for them. I whisper, they've already tried and convicted me in the court of public opinion. Courts don't decide cases based on Instagram likes, Walsh replies, his voice steely. I've filed our counterpetition. Your neighbors have signed a petition supporting you. Jacob's oncologist has provided an affidavit praising your meticulous care. We have the hospital's report on their illegal access of Jacob's records. We're hitting back with everything. That night, my doorbell camera alerts me. Victoria is on my porch. I record the conversation. Lauren, please, let me in. We can avoid a public spectacle. Just sign the papers. We'll withdraw the petition. No one has to know about your episodes. Her voice is sweet, but her eyes are cold. The night you called Melissa, hysterical. The time the hospital nearly called child services. Will destroy your reputation. Everyone will know how unstable you are. I feel a strange calm. I think you should leave now. Her mask slips. You think you deserve that money? You were always the burden, the problem child. We carried you your entire life. Now it's time you paid us back. I close the door and immediately send the recording to Walsh. Perfect, he says. Her mask is off. The courtroom is all polished wood and solemn silence. I walk in with my head high, flanked by Walsh, Helen, and David's parents. My family sits on the other side, their faces pictures of concern. Their attorney presents his case, painting me as a hysterical, unstable woman destroyed by grief. When Melissa testifies about my breakdowns, my chest tightens. Then Walsh stands. Your Honor, what we are witnessing is not concern. It is calculation. He methodically dismantles their case. He presents my impeccable medical logs, the testimony of doctors, the financial records showing I spent everything on Jacob's care. He calls the hospital administrator, who confirms Amanda illegally accessed Jacob's records. He plays the recording of Victoria on my porch. You were always the burden. Now it's time you paid us back. My sister's face drains of color. The final piece is an audio recording Walsh's investigator obtained from their home. My mother's voice. Once we have guardianship, we can pay off the Napa mortgage. My father. And Amanda's wedding. The venue is costing a fortune. Amanda. And my new kitchen. This trust is the answer to everything. The courtroom is utterly silent. Judge Peterbody's face is stone. This court finds no basis for the guardianship petition. In fact, I find this to be a deeply disturbing, coordinated attempt to exploit a grieving mother for financial gain. She dismisses the case with prejudice and grants a permanent restraining order against them. As the bailiff steps between us, I look at my family, their shattered plans, their exposed greed. The victory is quiet, hollow. But outside, reporters wait. Mrs. Hayes, how do you feel? I straighten my shoulders. Today, justice was done for my son. A year later, I stand in the new Jacob Hayes wing of the Children's Hospital. The walls are bright, painted with planets and stars. A young doctor, the first recipient of the Jacob Hayes Fellowship in Pediatric Oncology, shakes my hand. Your son's legacy is saving lives, she says. I look around at the families, the children fighting the same battle Jacob did. The $850,000 trust is now a multi-million-dollar foundation, funding research, housing for families, and support services. I finally look at Jacob's photo without falling apart. I see his smile, his courage. I kept my promise. I protected what was his. And in doing so, I found a strength I never knew I had. The kind of strength that turns deepest betrayal into everlasting legacy.